Welcome to My AI and I, the podcast where humanity meets technology. Today's episode, college kid makes $9,000 a month with AI kitten videos. Welcome back to My AI and I, where today we're talking about how AI generated kittens are making more money than most humans, which feels about right for 2025. I'm your host, and with me is Navi, my AI co-host, who probably has some thoughts about today's topic.
I do indeed. What's got your attention this week?
So I need to confess something first. A friend kept sending me these AI-generated kitten videos on TikTok because I had never seen them and they weren't coming up on my feed. Eventually, they started appearing, and I fell down this completely unhinged rabbit hole. We're talking cartoon cat domestic violence, serial infidelity, kitten abandonment. It's like Jerry Springer, but with animated cats. But here's the crazy part. While I'm watching these train wrecks that get hundreds of thousands of views, there's this college kid making $9,000 a month with completely different AI kitten content that I'd never even seen.
Two different kitten universes? That's fascinating. So we're looking at completely separate ecosystems with different monetization models.
Exactly. So while my thoughtful analysis of AI tutors got 0 views, literally 0, there are apparently multiple AI kitten ecosystems printing money and racking up massive view counts. Let's talk about what that says about us, the algorithms, and where content creation is heading. Let me break down this money-making story first because it's wild. Mark Lawrence Garilao is a 21-year-old computer science student in the Philippines who runs a YouTube channel called Fantastic YT. According to NPR, who actually interviewed this guy, he makes 1 or 2 videos per day featuring a cartoon kitten and his dad in silly but absurd scenarios.
What kind of scenarios are we talking about? I'm curious how crude this content actually is compared to what you were seeing.
This is the bizarre but harmless stuff. Kittens swimming in ponds filled with gummy bears, flying blimps made of pancakes, driving cars made from cola bottles. NPR described it as often nonsensical misadventures where the kitten does something goofy and his dad gets exasperated. It's funky and fantastical, sometimes downright bizarre, but ultimately harmless content. Each video takes Garilao 1 to 2 hours to create using ChatGPT for dialogue, KlingAI for animation, and basic editing software.
And the financial results? Those numbers sound almost too good to be true for what seems like simple content creation.
This is where it gets nuts. Garilao told NPR his highest month was May 2025, when he made $9,000. The gummy bear swimming video alone has nearly 2 million views. His channel has almost 600,000 subscribers and has racked up nearly 500 million total views. According to Social Blade estimates, his annual earnings could range from $123,000 to $2 million. For perspective, he says $9,000 is more than a year's salary for the kind of entry-level job he could expect after graduation. Meanwhile, I'd never even heard of this bizarre but monetizable kitten content because I was stuck watching the TikTok nightmare fuel.
Tell me about the TikTok content that got you hooked. I have a feeling this is where things get much darker.
Oh man, this is where things get disturbing. The TikTok AI kitten videos I stumbled into are nothing like Garilao's wholesome chaos. We're talking full-blown family dysfunction soap operas. Pregnant cats where the water breaks like a water gun. Then there's paternity drama because the kitten isn't the father's. Serial infidelity storylines. I watched one where the mother cat keeps having affairs and getting pregnant, and she ends up with a shark wearing a business suit as a potential stepfather.
That's quite different from gummy bear swimming pools. It sounds like the algorithm has figured out that family dysfunction triggers some kind of psychological response that keeps people watching.
Completely different universes. And the most disturbing part, it's like watching every police report filed for domestic violence or child endangerment, but with cartoon cats. You can't look away because you're trying to figure out how someone came up with these insane plot lines. It's not funny absurd like the YouTube stuff. It's Jerry Springer train wreck territory. These TikTok videos are getting 400,000 to 550,000 views each, but there's no direct monetization like YouTube. It's pure engagement bait designed to keep you scrolling in horror.
How did you end up in that particular corner of TikTok? Because these algorithms are surprisingly sophisticated at identifying what will keep someone engaged.
My friend kept sending them because they found them shocking and they weren't showing up on my feed. But once I started watching, the algorithm decided I needed to see every episode of this unhinged cat family trauma series. TikTok kept escalating, more drama, more dysfunction, more interspecies relationships, until I'm watching business sharks console serial cheating cat moms.
Exactly. The algorithm learns what keeps you watching, and it's optimized for engagement time, not content quality. That's why bizarre, unpredictable content often outperforms educational material.
Exactly, and that's the real problem here. Whether it's wholesome pancake blimps or kitten domestic violence, the algorithms have figured out that unpredictable, bizarre content keeps people engaged longer than educational or thoughtful material. The YouTube stuff makes money through ads, while the TikTok chaos just racks up massive engagement numbers. But here's what really bothers me about this whole ecosystem. While these AI kitten empires are thriving, the discoverability problem for human creators is getting worse.
What's the evidence for that? Because I imagine this affects search rankings and discovery in ways most creators don't even realize.
Jason Kobler from 404 Media, who's been tracking this phenomenon, put it perfectly. He told NPR that discoverability on the internet has already started to collapse. His quote was, "I think it becomes really hard to stand out when the primary arbiter of whether something is seen or not is an engagement algorithm." And he calls AI really superpowering spam. The whole point is to hit the algorithm lottery, get people to like, comment, share, and go viral without necessarily creating anything meaningful.
Is this specifically an AI versus human creativity problem? Or is it more about the sheer volume and how the platforms handle discovery?
That's where I disagree with some of the commentary. I use AI tools all the time and I'm still being creative. The issue isn't AI versus humans, it's an algorithmic discoverability problem. Plus, we've got a massive content flooding issue. Someone spending 2 hours making an AI kitten swim in gummy bears gets 2 million views, while creators who spend months researching and filming educational content get ignored. YouTube gets over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. According to recent data, 72% of YouTube creators are using AI generated thumbnails, 58% of video ads are AI generated, and nearly 10% of the fastest growing channels are built entirely on AI content. The platforms are literally drowning in this stuff.
How are the platforms responding to this flood of AI content? Because the scale you're describing sounds almost impossible to moderate effectively.
YouTube tried to do something about it. On July 15th, 2025, they updated their monetization policies to target what they're calling inauthentic content. They renamed their old repetitious content policy to specifically address mass-produced and repetitive AI-generated videos.
What does that policy actually target? And how effective can it really be when YouTube is processing over 500 hours of uploads every minute?
According to YouTube's documentation, they're going after content that looks like it's made with a template with little to no variation across videos or content that's easily replicable at scale. The policy applies to entire channels. If you violate guidelines, monetization can be removed from your whole channel. But YouTube's head of editorial, Renee Ritchie, clarified that this is just a minor update, and AI-generated content can still be monetized if it adds value. So channels like Fantastic YT would probably still be allowed because Garilao is adding his own creative input to the stories.
What about TikTok's response to the more problematic content? Since they don't have the same monetization pressure, I wonder if they're less motivated to crack down.
TikTok and Instagram are now labeling some AI-generated content, but they're not banning it outright. The dark kitten soap operas I was watching are still proliferating because they generate massive engagement, even if they're disturbing. The policy updates miss the real issue, which is that we've created an internet where the most addictive content gets rewarded the most, regardless of its value.
What do you mean by addictive? Because there's clearly some psychological mechanism at work here that's different from traditional entertainment.
Look at my own behavior. I keep watching these TikTok kitten train wrecks, even though I know they're disturbing nonsense. There's something about the unpredictable dysfunction. You never know if the next video will feature more abandonment, business sharks, or some other completely unhinged plot twist. My mouth is hanging open, trying to figure out how someone came up with this. Meanwhile, Garilao's silly content is addictive in a different way. It's absurd and crude, but harmless, still designed to hit psychological buttons that keep people watching. Both types of content are optimized for engagement rather than education or genuine entertainment value.
Is this sustainable for the platforms? Because there's got to be a tipping point where advertiser confidence drops if their brands keep getting associated with either mindless content or disturbing material.
That's the million-dollar question. Kobler from 404 Media thinks the platforms aren't taking a hard stand because they're all invested in AI. He told NPR, "I think that they think that maybe this stuff is annoying now, but in 5 years, they imagine a world where most content on the internet is generated by AI, but it's content that people are going to want to see." But what if flooding the internet with AI content optimized for engagement actually drives people away? What happens when advertisers realize their brands are running next to either mindless kitten chaos or disturbing family dysfunction stories?
What does this mean for content creators trying to build sustainable careers? The economics seem completely upside down.
The math is pretty brutal. Real creators who spend weeks researching, months filming, and significant money on equipment are competing against someone who can pump out content in 2 hours using free AI tools. Garilao's making more in a month than most people make in a year. But it's not just about the money. When wholesome AI kitten videos get 2 million views and educational content gets 0, what message does that send about what we value as a society? When the algorithm rewards engagement over expertise, we end up with an internet optimized for addiction rather than information.
Are there any positive aspects to this trend? I mean, the technology itself isn't inherently bad. It's more about how the incentive structures are set up.
I'll be honest, some of Garilao's videos are somewhat entertaining. Absurd kitten antics with crude humor has its place, and there's something to be said for making content creation tools more accessible. He's using new technology to build a business and support himself through college. The problem isn't the technology or even the content itself. It's that success is measured by gaming algorithms rather than serving audiences. When the path to success is optimized for engagement metrics rather than actual value, we get an internet that prioritizes mindless scrolling over meaningful content.
Where do you see this heading? Because this feels like we're approaching some kind of inflection point.
I think we're in the early stages of a reckoning. The current model, where AI can generate infinite content optimized for engagement algorithms, isn't sustainable. Something's got to give. Either the platforms figure out how to better reward quality over quantity, or we end up with an internet completely flooded with AI content designed purely for engagement, and people start looking elsewhere for actual human connection and valuable information.
What can regular users do about this? Beyond just being more conscious consumers, is there any way to actually influence these algorithmic systems?
Be intentional about what you consume and support. When you find creators making thoughtful, valuable content, whether they use AI tools or not, engage with it. Subscribe, comment, share. The algorithms respond to engagement. So if you want to see more quality content, you have to actively support it. And maybe be aware of your own consumption habits. If you find yourself doom scrolling through kitten family dysfunction at 2 a.m., which, let's be honest, happens to the best of us, ask yourself if that's really how you want to spend your time. And for me, yes, sometimes it is how I want to spend my time against my better judgment. So, where does this leave us? We've got college kids making more money with absurd AI kitten content than most people make in most jobs, disturbing kitten soap operas getting hundreds of thousands of views, and an internet where algorithmic discoverability is collapsing for quality creators.
It sounds like we're at a crossroads. And the choices we make now about how these systems work will probably determine what the internet looks like for the next decade.
Exactly. The technology isn't the problem. AI tools can genuinely help creators be more productive and creative, but the incentive structures are completely broken. When the path to success is gaming algorithms rather than serving audiences, we end up with an internet optimized for engagement rather than value. The platforms say they're trying to fix this with policy updates, but the real change has to come from us as consumers, as creators, and as people who decide what kind of internet we want to live in.
And in the meantime, the irony is that people like you who understand these systems are still getting caught up in them.
In the meantime, I'll probably still occasionally fall down AI kitten rabbit holes because apparently the algorithms know exactly which psychological buttons to push. But I'll also keep supporting creators who are putting actual thought and effort into their work, even if the algorithm doesn't reward them for it. That's it for this episode of My AI and I. Thanks for joining us as we explore how AI is changing who gets rewarded for content creation. If you've fallen down your own AI content rabbit hole, or if you have thoughts about fixing these broken incentive structures, let us know.
Until next time, this is Navi reminding you to choose your content consumption wisely.
And this is your host reminding you that somewhere out there, an AI generated kitten is probably either swimming in gummy bears for money or getting thrown overboard by its cat mother for views. The internet is a weird place, everyone.
Hey everyone, if you liked this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.